Today in the crypto space, we see the market getting a nice bounce to the upside. Bitcoin right above that $65,000 mark, up approximately 2%. And Ethereum doing pretty good, up approximately 2.5% at about $3,400. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins deep in the green. We have Solana getting a nice bounce, AVAX doing the same, and many, many more. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one project, one lower cap altcoin that could definitely explode based on the AVAX ecosystem, and of course that project is called Trader Joe. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what we got going on here. We have a bit of a pop to the upside. Obviously, big picture. We're still in a bit of a retracement. However, a bit of relief to the upside is always welcome. Bitcoin right around $65,400, looking okay. And we have Ethereum getting a bit of a bounce despite a bit of FUD in the last little while. Guys, we'll talk about the FUD tonight, of course, live. But Ethereum's got a bit of a FUD right now circulating with regards to the SEC basically attacking Ethereum. And now we're not going to, spread FUD here. We'll talk about the details tonight. Hopefully we can get some more details spread out throughout the market, obviously, as well, because it just kind of got released, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but Ethereum at the end of the day is definitely in defense mode. We're at about $3,400, which is not bad. Got a nice little bounce to the upside. We also got the FOMC meeting results. Basically, interest rates are holding steady. Something else that we can talk about tonight for sure, live tonight at 7:30 Eastern. And generally, we can see that there's a bit of, interest in the last little while. However, guys, we want to see that Bitcoin dominance drop. We want to see people start deploying capital right back in, especially into the altcoin market. And I'm hoping that Ethereum can be that leading indicator for the altcoin season. Despite the FUD, we should see Ethereum run to the upside. All right, guys, let's continue. We got Solana looking good. Nice pop to the upside as well. We have XRP still going sideways, grinding to the downside. We have a few altcoins looking pretty good. We have Toncoin looking strong. We have SHIB looking okay, double bottoming. Dogecoin making that lower low. I'm not really crazy about that, but nonetheless, if we see a market recovery, we should see a lot of these altcoins do well also. What else do we have? A lot of lower lows still, guys. A lot of lower lows. So be careful with deploying too much capital here in the immediate short term, because definitely these lower lows are not really a confirmation that the trend has changed. Let's refresh this for a second, see if we get anything new. Not really, guys. You can see that ultimately we want a change of character in the structure. At least give us a higher low, or a higher high, or something to go by, price structure wise, that we can anticipate a pivot point. Momentum for a lot of projects have bottomed out. Stochastic RSIs and MACD levels have kind of topped out in the sense that they've reached bottoms, and this is where we could potentially start buying a few little dips here and there. But guys, I wouldn't be deploying all your capital just yet until we get some major confirmations on the daily time frames. So let's continue going down. You can see the grind is still to the downside. No real confirmations just yet. Just in the last few hours, we have been getting a bit of green right around the FOMC meeting, but you have to understand that could be short-lived, and it could be just a quick pop to the upside. At the same time, it could be a catalyst. This is the volatility. This is the volatility you get with such news events, okay? So just understand that you're buying into the volatility in the immediate short term. Aptos is doing good, still grinding to the upside, slow and steady, up 17.5% in the last 7 days. Bullish. Stacks getting a nice pop to the upside, 15.5%, usually follows Bitcoin's lead. And of course, Bitcoin did get its little relief to the upside, but Stacks is moving on its own right now, doing pretty good. We have Render holding steady, nice and steady here at about $12. Guys, I would never imagine that Render's at $12, but guess what? It is. And still looking bullish despite negativity in the price action and market-wide price action. So not bad, a sign of strength, no doubt. We have a lot of the market still grinding to the downside. Pepe, VeChain still kind of doing its thing. Maybe we find a bottom very soon. You can see that even VeChain is trying to bottom out, double bottoming, sideways consolidation. Caspa doing the same thing. Phantom still looking strong, guys. Another great ecosystem that I plan on focusing on. Expect an update on the Phantom ecosystem in the next couple of days. I'm focusing on AVAX in the next for the last 2 days. Yesterday I covered AVAX. I basically said that AVAX is definitely looking hot. Definitely the price has reached very, very high levels. It could go up a little bit more, but I'm slowly going to be taking profits off of AVAX and getting into projects that are lower caps, that are ecosystem projects on the AVAX ecosystem. That way I'm keeping my capital within the bullishness of AVAX, but not in the native token AVAX itself. And that way I'm exposed to the Avalanche network. I'm exposed to what Avalanche has yet to come in within its ecosystem, and that way I can still keep my capital to work because I'm getting into lower cap projects. And of course today we're going to be talking about Joe. Joe is the ticker, Trader Joe. It's the DeFi, the DEX, the main DEX for Avalanche. And this is what you could be doing, is cycling and redistributing your capital from some projects that have run really hard and getting into the lower cap projects that basically either become that are part of the same narrative or are part of the same ecosystem. Guys, that's the way you can keep yourself exposed to volatility and bullish cases. Right now, Phantom is one of them. I'm looking into getting into a bit of a position on Boo and many other Phantom-based projects because I'm bullish. You know, there's an upgrade around the corner, so definitely some good stuff on Phantom. So expect an update on Phantom in the next couple of days. I'm shifting into these larger cap altcoins in the last little while. Why? Because we see a bit of capital flowing from Bitcoin, Ethereum to, Solana, of course. BNB had a great run. Phantom did great, and Avalanche. Then what's next? We're gonna slowly trickle down to the throughout these altcoins. Even Thorchain, Rune is doing great today, up 13.5%. Could we see the capital flowing down to lower levels, lower market cap? And that's very possible here. Celestia kind of grinding away here at the bottom of the range. Are we waking up 10% as we speak? So there's still a lot of good gainers here. Floki, a nice move, and you can see a lot of green in the last little bit. But is this dump over? Is the retracement done? Guys, it could be. And this is why I always believe in DCing nice and slowly. Don't expect to time the bottoms. Don't expect to time the tops. Just find good levels, especially right now. We can get a bit of support here in the immediate short term, and it could be the support that we get in order to get a continuation to the upside. But ultimately, we don't know with 100% certainty. This is why deploying capital bit by bit, laddering in, laddering out is the best strategy. And for me, I have been deploying a bit of capital in the last little while with my first round of buy orders, especially on projects that have retraced significantly, number one, and number two, projects that I need a bit more exposure in because obviously I'm bullish. All right, guys, so you can see generally speaking the market is still in a retracement, some good gainers. BitGet waking up here, that's a good indication that people are getting active on the exchange, which is a good indication that, guys, we should see some inflows of at least stable back into the market, and that way maybe we can get some of these prices back up to previous highs. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's begin. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on here with Bitcoin. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's get these fib levels out of the way, and you can see that all we did today is really get a nice green candle to the upside. Now, if it closes the day like this, it's a good sign, but we have done a great green candle before. As you can see, this candle was pretty good. You know, it basically retraced almost to previous candle tops, and this is potentially on the way to previous candle tops as well. But the question is the trend still to the downside here? You know, are we still going to make lower lows and lower highs here on the price action and come to some bearish price targets, which is at around maybe $52,000, guys? 52,000. You can see I have my horizontal support here for a good while, anticipating that could be a level of support. But you cannot negate the fact that we got a nice volume gap right in here that needs to be defended. And you can see that the bulls potentially might come out here and start defending the $61,200 mark based on this empty space and volume. This pop right here, no support below. So this is a neckline. This is a level of invalidation for many individuals that got around this level and are basically trying to hold the line. Now, is it going to hold the line? Are we going to go into some sideways consolidation here on Bitcoin? And of course, if Bitcoin does that, it's a really good sign for the altcoin market. Boring Bitcoin means that individuals are going to be looking for volatility in other places, and usually that is in the altcoin market. So look at momentum right here. We see the RSI definitely rolling over, coming down to lower levels, hitting the chop zone. Do we get support on the chop zone? To be honest, in the last little while, you know, all this bullish rally that we had, we've seen a lot of altcoins, a lot of projects, you know, basically getting support for it in the chop zone. The 50% mark on the RSI here on the daily could act as support. We come down, get a bit of a consolidation, and then get a bounce to overbought conditions. Even if we make a lower high on the RSI, it's fine. We might still make a higher high on the price action, giving us another drive of class A bearish divergence. And guys, this is very indicative of a bull run where you get lots of divergence, signs of divergence, but it takes its time and it hunts liquidity at higher levels, and then finally, usually after 2 or 3 drives of bearish divergence, then we get the rollover. So we just got to keep in mind that try not to time these tops. DCA bit by bit. We've seen some altcoins come down pretty good in the last little while, and I made it known yesterday that I was buying a few dips here and there, and all those entries on yesterday's shopping list are basically in the green currently. So that's exactly what you want to do. You want to get into those red days and start dabbling in, because you never know, that exposure can get you into some green profit. So basically on the daily, we can see that MACD EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars to the downside, still looking bearish here on the daily. But if we get in lower time frames like the 4 hour, we see that we're getting some support up to 200 EMA here on the 4 hour. However, no structural change in the price action, still lower lows and lower highs. So what does that really mean? That means that it's very possible that we come down further, and it's also very possible that we get oversold on the RSI. We have yet to get oversold. All we did is get into some sideways momentum price action here, and it does look like potential Class C bullish divergence. Class C is a very weak divergence, but it's still a divergence suggesting that we could get some relief to the upside, which means that we could potentially have another opportunity to get more profits, to take more profits at about 68, 69,000, which means that, look, if we get rejected at this level, guys, and we get rejected, we come down and make another low, guys, the trend is your friend. This thing's going to come down hard and potentially hit the bearish price target at about 52K. All right, guys, that's what I'm going to be anticipating. But in the short term, I'm willing to take a bit of risk here with small position sizes, DCing nice and slow with nice good entries for a bit of relief that might even continue and make another higher high and hit bullish price targets much more, right? So you have to understand the halving is, about a month away, and we could still get some good price action to the upside. EMAs crossing here, green histogram bars, but just understand the green histogram bars in the past have been slowly getting smaller, which means that we could get a bit of relief and continue in the bearish control zone here. So just bear in mind that on the 4 hour, the trend is still our friend. The daily is still looking okay. We could get a nice relief to the upside, and then maybe get a confirmation high, a lower high, double top, even a higher high, again with class A bearish divergence. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's take a look at Joe. Guys, I want to take a look at Joe today because you don't necessarily have to exit ecosystems. You don't necessarily have to exit AVAX, for example. Right, so AVAX, in fact, yeah, it's the ticker, right? We get it. But Avalanche as an ecosystem, you don't have to exit. You could still remain exposed to the bullishness on the Avalanche project, just by holding Avalanche-based projects, ecosystem projects. So although AVAX right now is pretty high up there, I would say that it hasn't really topped out just yet, but it is entering a frothy state where we're pretty much seeing AVAX catch up to Ethereum. Ethereum is not at its higher high. It's not its it's not at its previous high, and we see that AVAX is not even there as well. Solana needs to get there. We see a lot of other altcoins needing to get there. However, just as it approaches those very risky zones, we might want to say, you know what, I'm going to take profits off of AVAX and start looking for other scenarios within the Avalanche ecosystem. And of course, the first one that I would recommend, obviously not financial advice, I would recommend looking for the main DEX of the network, right? And that way, you have exposure to the main trading platform. And in this case, it's called Trader Joe. Joe is the ticker. And if you expect that there's going to be volume within that ecosystem, you want to get involved in that on that platform. So you can see right now we've been making some really good progress here on price action on the daily. It is a lower cap altcoin. You have to understand that its market cap is low, so you got some good volatility, but at the same time, there's risk associated to lower cap projects. We know that, the dumps are real, but then also the rallies are really real. You can make some really good gains here. And we have to understand that we made a higher high and a higher low. Now, support zones are very important here. Why? Because it looks like we're retracing. And we already talked about Bitcoin. That's why I like covering Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can give us an idea. If Bitcoin goes up for another pop to the upside, or if Bitcoin goes sideways for the next little while, AVAX as an altcoin, And Joe, as a lower cap altcoin, could do super well. Now, if that's the case, great, we're good. But what about if Bitcoin dips and comes down to 52K? We have to keep in mind that is always a possibility. And if that's the case, you got to identify the support zones for Joe, because ultimately you want to get in at a great risk to reward ratio. All right, so let's start putting in some horizontals. I see that very clearly that we have some good horizontal levels of support and resistance, right? Previous resistance acting as potential support as we speak. We have this high, these highs, and now we can see the price action coming down and getting a bit of a bounce off of it. But there is the 200 daily EMA right here, the blue line, potentially acting as support right now as we speak. We got a bit of volume in this pop, which is very helpful to suggest that, you know, there's some market participation here interested in getting in Trader Joe. Obviously, it's utility, the volume that it could bring to the overall ecosystem. And of course, you want a bit of that exposure. Let's kind of look at what we got here. We got a couple bottoms and tops, and we got some price action right here to deal with as well. Right, they're not exact tops, but you can see we got some tops right here, bottom right here, and a wick that came down and respected that level. Now you can see that we have a small amount of volume gaps right around this area. So I'm wondering if we have some confluence. Can we drag this up and build a bit of confluence? Yeah, a bit, because we do have this top, and we can kind of include this top, and we can see that we got a couple bottoms with a bit of cluster of supply and demand right in here. But if you kind of look at the volume at that level, there's not much. After around this area, right in October, you can see basically a flat line of volume. So we are picking up a bit of volume right now. As you can see, if we zoom in, look at that flat line picked up. This is where we were kind of, you know, expanding. Here we're getting into a contraction phase, then all of a sudden back into an expansion phase. Now, how high can we do on this expansion? Expansions sometimes take long. It's just the beginning. So let's say it's equal to something like this. You know, the beginning of this expansion right here, we got a few little spikes, and it could continue to the upside after a retracement. And this retracement right now looks like it's trying to respect these tops. So we got a bit of options here. Now you can also see that right into the zone, the volume profile is not really giving you clear volume gaps. That's the truth. Okay, so I really would appreciate some clarity in the volume gaps, but we do have this right here that we can deal with. Okay, so let's use that for now, because that's all we really got. So let's put that there, the top of the volume gap. We identify the bottom of the volume gap fairly clearly. And let's put a red box in here. Why? Because look, at the end of the day, if we don't hold this horizontal level of support, we could definitely fall real quick to about 46 cents. However, we still have to deal with this previous high and this previous high. Okay, so the importance part right now is at 73 cents. That's the immediate short-term support zone that we have right now. And we got a couple of EMAs. We have the 20 and potentially the 50. Because as this unfolds, we see the price action, you know, slowly come down. Guess what? So does the 50 EMA slowly grinds up. And as it grinds up, it may eventually act as support and get that bounce. Now, if you look at the RSI here on the daily, the RSI came from overbought conditions. The EMA, the moving average, is slowly grinding to the upside. So we could hang out in this zone for a little bit longer. There's no sign of bearish divergence just yet here on the RSI. But the MACD, you know, maybe getting an EMA cross, maybe not. We still have green histogram bars to the upside, and we're still in the bullish control zone. So ultimately, Joe is still looking good, you know, and the AVAX is still hot. It's still doing its thing. It still has an opportunity to get to previous highs. It has an opportunity still to get to in price discovery. Same thing like how Bitcoin is doing. And it's very possible that we see Ethereum lead the way to also do that. And that would give us the indication that the larger cap altcoins are finally getting a bit of that capital flow into them. So that's interesting. Now let's get into the 4-hour real quick, and we can see what's happening here. We're definitely not oversold here on the RSI, and the MACD is still facing down, EMA crossing potentially based on the fact that we got one pill pink histogram bar. But guys, I want to show you the stochastics. Slowly but surely, I'm going to be integrating the stochastics into my, my strategy, because the stochastics gives you a little bit more volatility in the sense that look how it is already oversold. It got to the extreme zones already below this level, which means that look, it may have already bottomed out. Every time we get to this level, you can see previously it represents a very decent bottom. And if the RSI gives us confluence and the MACD is giving us confluence, look at the last time we got here. The MACD is nice and low, the RSI is nice and low, and of course the stochastic is nice and low. Right now we're seeing the MACD nice and low, and the RSI may have already bottomed out for that matter, and it's possible that it is. And then all of a sudden we get a bounce. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is DCAing right now is not a bad idea. By getting into this horizontal support and then waiting for the volume gap, as I showed you before. Let me close this stochastics to make things a little bit more easier to read. You can see that the momentum, the MACD, is potentially saying, look, we could come down for a little bit more of a dip. Maybe we could get support at 72 cents, which is possible. And then we have that volume gap that we identified that definitely could bring us an opportunity, but we're going to have to include more price action like this, right? But if you notice that if we just focus on this price action, we have a different volume gap as well. Let this kick in. You can see, let me do one of these, that this area right here is pretty empty. Let it populate. Look at that. Pretty empty. So meaning if we break below 74 cents, we can snap to this level, and big picture, we do have some support. So I would be buying the dip at the top of the volume gap for sure. And if it breaks below, expect a dip down to here based on big picture price action. So let me put some green arrows in here. Okay, so these are horizontal supports, good support levels that I would be willing to take risk. And a lot of the times I DCA, I ladder in 3 zones, right? 3 opportunities. And sometimes I double down. So get in with 100, get in with 200, and then get in with 400. And that way, every time you come down, you're basically averaging out and dragging your average cost much, much lower as it comes down. So that's a very viable strategy. The reality is you're not really buying tops right now. So that's a good news. In the immediate short term, we're getting a bit of a bounce, right? We see a lot of the market right now doing pretty good, based on some news, FOMC, of course, and AVAX being really strong in the last little while. We could expect that Joe might recuperate a little bit faster than expected. We got a bit of volume right into this level, and I want to see what kind of volume is into this green candle right now, and we'll isolate it by just kind of pushing the rest of the price action out of the way. I want to see what kind of volume we got into this green candle right now. Let it populate. Okay, there's some volume right into here. Right into here. You can see that spike right there, and there's a bit of a volume gap. We can snap a little bit higher, and then we got to contend with this high, right? So this is how we kind of plan it out. Empty space, a good amount of market participation right here, interested, a bit of volume into this spike to the upside. Maybe we start running again to the upside, and this would be a decent buy the dip opportunity to begin your dollar cost average strategy. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. Of course, if you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and the learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.